Introduction to Hadoop and what do you mean by Hadoop and Apache Spark and where they are used in big data and streaming the data with machine learning. A lot of people have accumulated data over the years and a lot of data has been created in the last 5 years itself, and that is crazy. So let's say this companies like Netflix, they will know what page you're using, what browser you're using, how much time you spend watching the movies or the TV shows. So the problem deals with how do you store the data and how do you process the data. So that's where Hadoop comes in. But before that, let's understand big data and why we need Hadoop to process the big data. So if you want to define big data, it is just that it is just too big to be processed on a single machine. And there are a lot of problems that deals with data, and the data can be worthless, the data can be fast, and the data can be in different sources of formats. So you would ask, how big can be data? Big data file, and it's really big. I don't know why this is behaving really weird. It's weird. Okay, so you would have this data file here, your images, and you would want to, this is a 2 TB file, and you want to store this, so it would be divided into a lot of chunks. So let's say there are like 4 chunks of 64 MB each. That's the maximum chunk on each cluster that Hadoop allows. And so you would have like this a lot of clusters until you reach 2 TB. So this is how Hadoop system would work. HDFS would work internally. So you have divided into clusters, and now it will look something like this. So it would have this cluster, and you would have the data node, which is your data, and you would have a name node which would be containing metadata information about your cluster. So you have this data node and you have other data nodes. So this would have the information on which block of cluster is belonging to which file. What would happen, let's say one of our data node fails? What can Hadoop does in this case? So Hadoop in this case data node replicates the information not once but thrice. Once the data node fails, it has the copy to obtain it from 2 different places. And if the name node fails, what do we do then when the name node fails? So when the name node fails, they connect with NFS, network file system, stored somewhere on the cloud. So even if that fails, your metadata will always be there. Okay. So basically name node, without it you would not know which block belongs to which file. You would really not know. And what if this fails? It replicates it twice. If any node goes missing, and if name node fails, it will go to NFS, fetch it from the cloud, the metadata is always. So let's start our VM, which has Hadoop already pre-installed, so we don't have to do any installation on our part, and it runs on Java as well as Python. So we are in our training system right now in our Cloudera virtual machine, which you can get from Cloudera Quickstart VM. So I will link that in the description below. Let's see what files we have and what we can put into the Hadoop file system. So I'll do basic ls for now, and let's see what we have. And this virtual machine I encountered first while doing a course from Udacity. So you can let's see what we have in the Udacity training directory, and it has two directories which has code and data. And if you want to explore the code, it has two files, mapper and reducer. So mapper and reducer are two different files. That is basically what Mapreduce is. We'll come to that in a second. Now let's go back and let's go to data directory, and we have a purchases file. Now if we were to see this file in any text editor, this would be a huge file. It has transaction history, credit card history, so it even takes time in a basic text editor to open this file. So let's see what is inside this Hadoop file system, and let's see if we have anything already on the Hadoop file system. And as you can see, there is nothing there because we have not pushed anything to our system. Now the purchases file is still on the local directory and not on the Hadoop file system. So to put on the Hadoop file system, you would do Hadoop fs -put, and you would put the name of the file, just purchases.txt, and once you hit enter, it will take a little time to upload it to the Hadoop file system, and then you are good enough to see it that it exists on the Hadoop file system. Running the command back again, you can see it's in the Hadoop file system itself. So let's create a directory because it's more cleaner to work with, easier to work with, and you could do basic with mkdir command, and it's same as Linux commands. So you just do Hadoop fs, and then you do make dir, and then you can say input dir, and here so you would be able to create a directory on the Hadoop file system. And let's use the same command and then put the purchases.txt inside the input directory, and this would do that magic. And now let's go ahead and see in the Hadoop fs, and you would see that there are two files. And if you want to see inside Hadoop fsls, you would do input dir, and then you can see that there is indeed a file of purchases.txt.